Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another DC review, and in this DC review I'll be covering Action Comics 1065 and also Blue Scarab, not Blue Beetle, issue 9. I'll now get things prepared for the first one that I'll be reviewing. So, moving in the first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? In some essence it does, to which I give a 7 out of 10. I will not be covering the backstory, as the backstory doesn't really interest me that much. So let's have a look at the story around the beginning, middle, and of course the end, in relation to the art for its racing. So as we move into the beginning of the story, we see Superman along with Lobo, who is taking on the many Zarnians, or the many Zarnians in a way, I guess, helping him. This bit actually felt very confusing. As we start to move towards the middle of the story, we see that Kara Zor-El ends up catching up with the character of Brainiac, only to learn that Brainiac has put Curlew himself in, or Curlew, the planet which he lived, also into a glass jar. And last but not least, towards the end, to which we get to see Lobo teaming up with more of the Zarnians. For the internal art, I give it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the area of the story. Considering how far we are on issue 1065, do we have any comic references to any of the previous issues? Or maybe even something that is actually connecting to the storyline? The answer is no, we don't. Next is the area of time. Again, nothing. Next after this is the locations that we see here. We have Brainiac's ship plus the hardcore station, which is very softcore, I must admit, far from compared to hardcore in regards to story. Next is the cast of characters, which consists of Brainiac, Lobo, of course Clark Kent, Superman, Supergirl, the Super Twins, King and Kong, which is the new Superman, Superboy, Livewire, Lex Luthor. I don't believe we saw Lois Lane in this, though if she was here, I might have missed the picture that they were using for her. And of course, last but not least, the Space Cabinet makes an appearance. For the overall story rating in this, I give a 6.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move into Blue Scarab, issue 9. Now, just because it calls itself Blue Beetle doesn't mean I have to call it Blue Beetle. Considering the character is wearing a scarab, and his name is Jaime Reyes, it does not make him Blue Beetle. In fact, it makes him a Blue Scarab, because it's the Scarab, Kaji, and himself that communicate with each other. So this is why I'm calling it Blue Scarab instead of Blue Beetle. And I think even DC Comics should actually rename the Jaime Reyes run Blue Scarab instead of Blue Beetle. Yes, he can still be connected to the Blue Beetle universe, or the Blue Beetle story, but let's let him have his own title, being Blue Scarab. So moving into first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? I'd have to say not much this time, to be honest. I didn't really like the cover. It's alright, but it doesn't work well with the story. And I think even the creator of this art, I understand that they're trying to do the best they can to work alongside with the story creator, but I just don't feel that this works well with the story. and that they could have actually used something else, or maybe something like in story to sort of like connect to what's happening with the actual story. So for this, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. Next is the area of the internal art, as we have a look around the beginning, middle, and end, and also what's happening story-wise with the characters. So in last issue, we were introduced to the character called Pinnacle at the end, and we see that Jaime Reyes is now going up against Pinnacle. As we start to jump towards the middle of the story, we do catch up with other members of the extended Blue Beetle family of sorts, including, I think, Victoria Cord, and last but not least, the return of Ted Cord. So for the internal art, I did seem to like it, to which I gave a 7 out of 10. Next is the area of the internal story, to which, considering how far we are comic-wise, did we get any comic book references to either this Blue Beetle run or a previous Blue Beetle run? No, we didn't. Next is the area of time, to which later was used. The locations that made an appearance in this story were Palmyra City and Victoria's Lab. The cast of characters consisting of Jaime Reyes, Blue Scarab. I am not calling him Blue Beetle. And if you would prefer Jaime Reyes to be called Blue Scarab instead of Blue Beetle, let DC know. Surely I'm not the only one who thinks this. Of course, we have the character of Pinnacle, Brenda, of course, Ted Cord, Victoria, Parker, and last but not least, the character of Kaji. The overall story rating in this is a 6.5 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.